This episode of the Boss Rush Podcast is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn more about Boss Rush Media's family of podcasts, head on over to bossrushmedia.com or patreon.com/bossrushmedia. Thanks for your continued support. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Boss Rush Podcast, a great place to play games and be better. I'm one of your hosts, Corey Dirrig, and alongside me, as always, is PC Muscle Race himself, LeRon Dawkins.
Hey, what's poppin'?
Hi, LeRon.
Hey, Corey.
How many nits does your screen have, LeRon?
My screen? Hold on, I will tell you, because this is a brand new monitor, and I should know this.
Oh, boy. Also joining us is the mad pharmacist herself, Stephanie Klimov.
Buongiorno.
She busted out the Red Bull tonight. Oh, it's already gone. Just chug that.
Well, I mean, I've been sipping on it for the last half hour, so I gotta make this last. Come on.
It's fair. Speaking of sipping, also here is PK Power Pat Klein.
Well, I would have also taken things that gotta last. I don't know.
You were sipping a fine glass of Pat Klein. Oh! I'm so proud of myself for that.
You know what? I will give you points for that.
Speaking of points, how's everybody?
Aged like a fine wine.
Oh boy!
All right, so Corey, you ready for the answer to this question?
Oh boy, here we go. Yeah.
My monitor, which is the Samsung Odyssey Neo 9G. I'm sorry, the Odyssey Neo G9. I'm sorry. Has a peak brightness of 2,000 nits.
It's a lot of nits.
Which means at nighttime, it's fucking bright.
Yeah.
Woo!
Well, bright.
It took me. I've had this monitor for 2 weeks now. It took me all 2 weeks to get used to the brightness of this thing. Like now, I just keep this monitor in permanent HDR mode, and just let Windows decide when it needs to like use all that brightness.
Smart.
So you can play Resident Evil 4 on that thing and maybe actually see where you're going.
Oh, I always cheat on that. Whenever I notice a game is not properly lit is subjective. Whenever I notice that though, the first thing I do is I go right to the brightness settings and the options, whether it's on the HDR mode or whether it's just right up in the display. And I usually bump it up because you know how like, the thing says like adjust it to like you can barely see the emblem or whatever it's showing.
Mm-hmm.
I never put it down to where I barely see it. Not in game.
No, I bump it up almost to the highest setting too, but before it becomes too whitewashed.
Okay, no, that's washed out.
Yeah.
Usually for semi-spooky games, like when I played Alan Wake, that game was super dark, so I turned the brightness all the way up. It was.
I had to jack up the brightness for Alien Isolation, which, by the way, that game still fucks with me, and I played that game 2 years ago in October.
Yeah, I still couldn't.
By the way, y'all been fucking around playing all these damn scary games. Why the fuck aren't y'all playing Alien Isolation?
I played one scary game, sir. Thank you. And it wasn't really scary.
What's the scary game? Which one? Alan Wake?
Well, people keep telling me that Alan Wake is a scary game. I'm like, no.
It is not.
I'm like, no, it's a dumb game.
All right.
We didn't say it was scary. We said it's a thriller.
Corey, slide into my DMs later.
I'm not talking about you guys. I'm talking about other people when I told them I was
scary to me for
they were
2
like,
seconds.
Corey.
They're like,
Slide-
you're playing
slide
a
into my
horror game? I'm like, no, I'm playing a cheap Twin Peaks ripoff.
All right, so what I'm gonna need you to do is slide into my DMs later and give me all the names of the people who said this, so I can verbally accost them online.
I will do that.
A scary game. Alien Isolation is a scary game. Dead Space 1, 2, 3, and Remake are scary games. Resident Evil 1 and 2 are scary games.
Yeah, I
Silent Hill 1 and 2, and to the most part 3
4 too.
are scary games.
I would throw 4. 4 was scary because you went against ghosts, and those guys didn't die. You had to fucking pin them down to the ground with a sword to keep them from haunting you.
Hell, The Medium is scarier than Alan Wake.
Yeah, I didn't think Alan Wake was very scary at all. It was just dark. So
And in my opinion, the medium was just tame.
I didn't play the medium.
The medium, it was pretty spooky. I mean,
It's
if you're
spooky.
talking
The
about
monster
like
wants to wear you like a skin suit.
oh, the maw terrified me. And like there were certain scenes in that hotel resort, it was pretty just bone chilling. So maybe it's not scary in a sense like there's no like real crazy jump scares, but the level of psychological horror is what did it in for me.
I think the last game that was considered horror that I actually played was Bloodborne. It is.
It's not a
under the
horror.
I know, I didn't think it was, but it's under the category of horror. So
No, it's gothic horror. Like, just more like the monsters you fight. But, like, in terms of actually being spooky, not at all. Just how spooky and how much you like the game when you finally get good at it. Why are we
do you
all
get so quiet?
silent?
Why do you get so quiet just now?
I know. I'm
Yeah.
like, did I miss something?
my entire screen froze, and I was waiting for it to come back.
Okay. We're all like,
Sorry.
Now
Sorry.
that was genuinely scary.
Ah.
uh,
Anyways, speaking of video games, horror games, not necessarily, but some of us maybe. Let's talk about what we've been playing. I'm going to go first because I can. I finished the main campaign of Spider-Man Remastered.
very nice.
Yeah, it was good.
Did you cry?
No, the whole game's been spoiled.
God damn it, he's frozen again.
I am?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you
No.
froze this time.
Oh well.
I ask you a question and then you don't say something for like 3 seconds.
Somebody didn't reboot their router.
I'm not going to do that every time. My internet speed says it's where it's supposed to be because I checked it when you all froze the last time.
That might be a you problem.
No, I literally tested it just now.
If all three of us can see each other talking and you're the only one that's not moving, that's probably you.
Well, then it's a Zencaster problem.
That could be it too.
I
See, oh no, Stephanie's moving. Never mind.
I did not cry at the end because the game has been spoiled for me for so long, and so. But it was good. It was good. So I am going to play the DLC, which I think is like 6 or 8 hours or something. I can probably do it in a few nights. So I played that, and that's it. I thought the final boss fight in that game was not great, but it was good. I enjoyed the character interaction. I enjoyed these versions of the characters. I don't like the MJ stealth scenes or the Miles stealth scenes. They are pretty bland, but other than that, it was good. It was enjoyable. I would say in terms of PlayStation's kind of exclusive echelon of games, you kind of think of like people put like Naughty Dog games and God of War and Horizon in like the top tier. I would say this is probably the bottom of top tier PlayStation exclusives. It's super polished. The gameplay is super fun. The voice acting is great. And Insomniac's always super consistent. So
Hold on a second. Hold on. Put this in perspective because you're playing this game now in 2023. Put it in perspective of where the PS4 was at in 2018.
Yeah, it was chugging a lot on these newer games.
And think of all these. I'm talking the PS4 Pro, doofus. Don't
I had a PS4 Pro.
Don't be that way.
I had a PS4
Okay, hold on,
Pro.
because I played Spider-Man. I played Spider-Man on the PS4 base system, and I didn't have any problems. So you're telling me it was chugging on the Pro?
Yeah. At least when I played it, it did.
That means your PlayStation was acting a fool.
Probably. I've never had a PlayStation console that didn't break at one point or another.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. And it's not like I'm just like just being one of those Sony ponies as they like to call them.
Yeah.
Because I had PS1s that like went kaput on me. I've had PS2s, PS3, a PS4 kind of wanted to start, but it was more like the disc drive.
Yeah. Well, my PlayStation 4 original started sounding like a jet engine when I would play, stuff like Destiny and stuff. So I traded it in before it broke. And then my PlayStation 4 Pro, I hadn't played it in forever, so I just got rid of it. But it was
actually my PS4's fan used to ramp up too. Like it was noticeable. And as a matter of fact, the PlayStation 4 was the first system I noticed that actually made my bedroom hot.
Yeah.
The first console.
Yeah. My Pro, the fan started clicking, so that was interesting to hear. And then, yeah.
All right, but anyway, so you're telling me that Spider-Man in 2018 was a mediocre game?
For me, yeah. I didn't say it was mediocre. I said it was.
Oh, for you?
Yeah, I felt like I played that game before, and I still feel that way.
Well, I still feel like all those other Activision Spider-Man games came out.
Yeah.
The one thing
I've been playing this game since PS2, since Spider-Man 2 came out.
The one thing Insomniac Spider-Man did was it revolutionized the swinging, because the swinging always felt kind of just kind of a thing, but they made this web swing mechanic so organic. Combat is freaking stellar in this game, and these are from the people who make this is the Ratchet and Clank team, yeah. So they got very creative with Spider-Man's weapons and stuff like that. We saw stuff that technically we hadn't even seen in the comic books, let alone the damn movies. All like 17 of them now.
Yeah.
What else?
The combat was very Arkham Asylum to me.
Okay, yeah, I can give you that.
Yeah. I it's not to say it wasn't enjoyable. I feel like this game is like a combination of a lot of things that I played before, but that's a lot of games these days, right? I mean, Picasso said the best artists copy other artists, so you know what I mean. So.
I was still a bit of a PlayStation gamer back in 2018, and I will say Marvel Spider-Man was one of the best PlayStation games I played that year, and this is including God of War, and God of War was
Red Dead was the other one.
Who?
Red Dead came out that year too.
Yeah. I was thinking more PlayStation exclusives.
I was thinking game of the year wise,
because I'm kind of sticking with Corey's like line of he was like it was bottom tier PlayStation game.
Yeah. Also, I mean, for me though, like I think Spider-Man is way more enjoyable than God of War. I think that.
So
Insomniac nails.
So you're basically saying God of War 2018 is the floor, while Spider-Man is above it.
Well, I'm saying in terms of the way people think about things mixed with my opinion. So, I mean, God of War is super polished and super, it tells a story that people enjoy, and people enjoyed that game. But like, in terms of personal preference, Spider-Man is better.
Mm-hmm.
Also, God of War was another game that chugged on the PS4 Pro for me. So,
God of War. I'm trying to think. Spider-Man did not have an HDR mode, but God of War did. So God of War was actually going to put the PlayStation 4 through its paces compared to Spider-Man.
Yeah, but it turns it off if your TV doesn't handle HDR.
Yeah, true. Oh, your TV, you didn't have an HDR television at the time when you were playing God of War?
I still don't play games on an HDR TV. This TV I have in my office is like 15 years old.
Man, get ready for an experience when you do get an HDR television.
I have one. It's in the living room, but I play my games in my office because, while we do this or while I'm playing games, my wife watches her shows on TV. So
yeah. I just want. I did not mean to like break into what you were saying. I was just really curious, like where you were coming from when you said bottom tier. That's all.
No, I mean like,
and it's not me even like trying to defend the game. I just think like out of all the stuff that came out, didn't Ghost of Tsushima come out that year too, or did it came out the year before?
No, it came out.
It came a year after.
Oh, it came out a year after.
It came out right after The Last of Us.
What else?
Here's what I mean though. When I mean bottom tier. I mean, like if you're going to put like, here are the elite PlayStation games at the top. Here are like, the good / decent PlayStation exclusives, and then there's like a bottom tier of PlayStation exclusives. Like, I don't know. I know a lot of people think Concrete Genie and The Last Guardian are kind of like bottom tier exclusives. I'm saying Spider-Man is in the elite category, but like it's probably the floor in terms of like
it's
like
the
production
worst of the best. Worst of the best. Still a best.
Yeah.
But
because I will say, because let's see, we had God of War in 2018. We had Spider-Man, Detroit Become Human, Dreams, Days Gone, MLB The Show 18, and Concrete Genie. Out of all those games, I would say like all of them get laid to dust compared to Detroit Become Human.
I've not played
Days
Detroit.
Gone was pretty awesome.
Detroit was an experience, but I like those type of games, like storyboard type games. I love those games, and Detroit is having the most interactive of all those storyboard games. Because I mean, like, Life is Strange is good. It is good. What else? What was the game I just played? The fucking Xbox exclusive for a while.
Tell me why. Tell me why.
No. Because Tell Me Why is also by the Life is Strange team.
Yeah.
No. As Dusk Falls could have been better, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Games in those veins, stuff like that. But I would say out of all those games, the one that came out in 2018 that were first party exclusives for Sony, or at least exclusives for Sony, I would say Detroit Become Human was the number one game in my retrospect.
Yeah. I mean, it's all about what you prefer, right? So, I mean, you could say that, but at the end of the day, like, these games are all...
Oh, shit, Horizon came out that year, too, right?
No, that came out in 2017, because it came out the same day as Zelda.
Okay.
And then everybody forgot about it for, like, 6 months.
Okay, all right.
Oh, man, poor Horizon. That series can't catch a break. But yeah, I'm about to head into the DLC and into Miles Morales, which I hear is the superior game. No pun intended, I guess.
Miles Morales?
I can attest for that. It was like Insomniac. I want to say Insomniac played it safe with Spider-Man and flexed with Miles Morales.
Yeah, the thing too with Spider-Man is like, I felt like things were just being dragged along for like 15 hours, and then like, some things kind of start happening, but then the last like 2 hours are super rushed. I'm like, you couldn't have spread this out over like the course of the game. Like some of the boss fights and some of the encounters at the end, they were all kind of like smushed together. And I was like, oh, like, why couldn't I have fought Rhino 10 hours in, and then Scorpion 13 hours in, and then, and then Vulture, and then, whatever. It just felt like everything was kind of smushed into the last half of that third act, and it kind of, I'm like, well, these characters, like, if you read the dossiers on the characters, it's like, these characters are super interesting. Why can't we explore some of these stories and then fight them, right? Like, Rhino is stuck in his giant Rhino robot suit, right? Or Vulture has spinal cancer, and like, why can't we go into some of these stories and figure out why they're doing the things they're doing? And it just kind of felt like the boss fights were kind of just all smushed together with no real introduction. I guess
I get what you're saying, but like with all the Spider-Man material that's come out before, and stuff like that, Vulture was already a villain in one of the Activision games. So is Doc Ock. So is Sandman.
I know all that, but
that's why they introduced Mr. Negative. That's why they introduced him. They needed a brand new original villain for Spider-Man. Just like when you play Miles Morales, the villain for that is a brand new original villain.
Right, but when they did that for they did this for Shocker though, where you fought him like a little bit, right? And then you fight him again in the bank, and then he ends up telling you that he has a gambling problem, and he needs to pay his debts to or maybe he's needs to pay his debts to the mob or Fisk or something. I can't remember. He
had someone that was going to kill him.
Loyalty to Fisk. It was a loyalty to Fisk.
Yeah,
but also he was being mind controlled.
So I wish there would have been a little bit more of that with the other characters. Is all I'm saying. So, but anyway, Spider-Man good. Probably should play it if you're into Spider-Man or good games. So I don't have any other game to talk about though. That's all I've been playing. I've been trying to rush through these games to like.
Yeah, I'm also trying to rush through these games because I'm also playing Spider-Man Remastered, and either I misheard information or somebody lied to me because there are 12 marker statues that I have to get in Dead Space Remake to get the ending, and I was there thinking, woohoo! I got the fourth one, so like I'm scot free. I can do whatever the hell I want. Nope, I still have 8 more to find. So yeah, that's my thing. I'm playing a couple of games that are still under review embargo, and I'm also playing a game that I really shouldn't be talking about, but I'll give you a hint. It's a long running franchise, and the main guy says, "Let's go."
Nice.
Don't worry. By the time this episode is published, the game will be out.
Well,
that's actually pretty cool. I didn't know we got codes from Nintendo.
I don't think we do.
I got a code from Nintendo.
No, you didn't. You emulated it on mine already.
LeRon getting a code from Nintendo.
I would shit myself.
Hey, you, Pat, you want the code? I got one to share.
If it's true, yes.
Stephanie, what are you playing?
Sure. So playing in some show and tell. Well, I'll start with what I'm playing because technically I really only managed one-ish because I didn't get to my one where the embargo ends on Friday in time for tonight because work kicked my butt.
Stupid work.
Yeah. I finally beat Resident Evil 2 Remake.
Woo-hoo.
Nice.
Wait, did you beat both campaigns?
Hell no.
Oh, you didn't beat the game then. I'm sorry. You did not beat the game.
No.
Whose campaign did you beat? Did you beat Leon's campaign or you beat Claire's campaign?
Leon.
Okay. Which I'm going to say this right now. Claire's campaign is the stronger campaign. I'm going to say that right now. And that Mr. X guy doesn't dog you down as much as in Claire's campaign as he does in Leon's campaign.
Wait, Claire A campaign or Claire B campaign?
I don't think there's an A and B campaign.
There isn't.
Huh?
The A and B side. The second side is always considered B, and so it's a little more difficult and takes place the second one is like a B. Like you're coming into the police station from a different angle, for one, and then Mr. X starts chasing you almost immediately when you're in there.
So I think you mean if you start off as Claire, the A side. So.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe. I mean, this will be something that I'll maybe play a campaign like every Halloween going forward. But for me, as one of the biggest wussies on this panel, the fact that I got through a single full campaign, I am proud of myself. I chose Leon just because I like looking at him. So, it took me a while to get used to the spooks. I tried to keep the lights off, and I couldn't handle it. I had to turn all the lights on. But after I kind of got used to the spooks, I was fine. I mean, the whole Mr. X thing was anxiety riddling.
I bet it was.
I really did hate it, but again, I got used to it. The only thing that I just refused to do was I get anxious. I need to keep moving, so I didn't get to get every single item in all the rooms just because it was just.
Wait, you're gonna wait till October next year to play the second half of Resident Evil 2?
Maybe not. I'm just saying.
I don't know. I think you're ready for Resident Evil 3 now. That's just like Mr. X, but this time he has a flamethrower or a rocket launcher. And tentacle arms.
I will say this. Nemesis is the best tyrant. Yes,
he is.
Well,
best boy.
Yeah. Mr. X is like the chill tyrant.
He's a cool tyrant.
The next Resident Evil game I want to play is Resident Evil Village. So I want to move on.
You gotta play 7 though first.
You can't play. Wait, you can't play Village. You can't play Village unless you play Resident Evil 5 and Resident Evil 7 first. You have to play those before. If you play,
you don't need Village, 5 as much. I don't.
You kind of sort of.
I watched a Let's Play of 7, so I do not need to play it myself. So I know what happens. I refuse to play it because it's in first person. I cannot do first person horror. I cannot do first person horror. I cannot do first person horror. Resident Evil Village wasn't even an option until they released that update where you could play as third person. And I'm like, okay, now I can play it because I can see my character get his face ripped off, but it's not my face; it's his.
Actually,
face.
you can't. Actually, you still can't see Ethan's face in the third person.
You see a character that's clearly not me, so I can detach myself further from the horror.
I don't know. I heard the cutscenes are still in first person, right?
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's where the jump scares are.
Corey, you're a weenie too. Can you give me a little bit of props for beating Resident Evil 2?
Or
at least
I gave you props.
Hold on. Pause.
Yeah.
The only thing I'm going to say about this is play these games the way they were originally intended to be played. If the game released in a first person mode, dude, come on. I would love to have played Alien Isolation in a third person perspective. It doesn't matter though, because as soon as the Xenomorph sees you, you are dead. It doesn't matter.
Listen, the fact that I was able to play any Resident Evil game, it's either that or I'm not playing them at all. Okay, so
I would rather. So here's the thing. I actually don't really care for first person games except for Destiny and Halo. Like if I could play every game in third person, I totally would.
I'm the same way.
So
there's something about Elder Scrolls and Fallout that you need to play it in first person.
That's why I don't play those games, Pat.
Adventure-y. I just horror first person. I can't do. But I hear you. I was just really impressed by, because I've saw what the original Resident Evil 2 looked like just through research and stuff, and then experiencing Resident Evil 2 Remake, I was very thoroughly impressed with the graphics, the movement, the sound. I feel like that, and I've heard people say it, but now that I played it, I can actually agree that this is a prime example of how a remake should be done. Like, I thought it was very well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
So yeah, good on that.
Yeah. All I'm gonna say is hurry up and play Claire's campaign because you're not getting the full story. You're not.
It's true.
Yeah, I know.
You're not.
Hers has the little girl in it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Little Birkins.
Yeah. Which that's where you actually learn about more about the outbreak than anything else. Like, yeah, what Ada told Leon, like in the bottom of the police station and stuff. Yeah, that kind of gave you something, but no, that's like skimming the top of the iceberg.
I will at some point definitely do that. And then last but not least, show and tell. I got a Handheld History, another coffee table book, but it's really cool. It has, the history of handheld games, but it goes all the way up to the Steam Deck, which is very impressive. So it has the Analog Pocket and the Steam Deck. And I want to show off, so I hope even listeners will eventually watch on YouTube. This is the beautiful Analog Pocket that came into the mail today. I have a sample. I was playing around with a couple games. That's why I say I really only played Resident Evil 2 because I played literally minutes of a couple Game Boy games just to kind of get a feel of how it works. I really love the Analog Pocket, but I feel like I need to play with it a little bit longer for me to kind of talk about this handheld more. But I will say that it is backlit. It looks really great. Sounds great. It's like me reliving the Game Boy experience, but slightly elevated. And that's kind of what I was looking for.
Nice. Are you going to buy the dock that you can plug it into the TV?
That will be next, yes.
Are you going to attempt to get the adapter to play other games, like the other old games?
Probably not. I think I'll just stop here and then kind of enjoy the because I really only have the Game Boy and Game Boy Color games. I don't really have anything else. So.
Do you need the adapter for the advanced games or the advanced games to play?
I don't think you should need an adapter for the advanced games.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I can play 4 swords by myself.
Nice. the way you should. Because people in other games, no.
Fun ideas that Nintendo tried that never panned out. Remember the Pac-Man game? That
Pac-Man versus. I had fun with that, actually.
You had friends to play it with, though, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
Oh, I didn't.
I don't have friends.
Y'all some lonely people.
Yep. We are
very lonely.
Yep.
Let me introduce you to my friend. Sorry.
Ooh,
yeah.
Ooh. Oh, that's just a guide. Damn. I was thinking that was a.
That's
damn
what you
art book
call
for
stranger danger.
So on the last one here, games that I have been playing. I finished Oxenfree 2, so we can go ahead and do that spoiler cast book club whenever. Now, I'm up to snuff. You know, I gotta say I did enjoy the ending. Overall the characters did grow on me for the most part, except for Olivia. Olivia's a bitch.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was a very interesting game. I'm kind of curious to know how number 1 or how number 2 ruined number 1. I think I might understand, but I don't know really what number 1 is.
I would say if you want to keep the happy enjoyment of this game, maybe you should not play 1 right away, at least. Although, maybe you should play number 1 because it's very good.
My friend questioned why'd I even jump into 2 if I haven't played 1. It's like book club.
Yeah, it's
because Steph made me.
Yeah,
that's right. I can't always give Steph good recommendations. I have to take one from her once in a while too.
I don't know. According to Corey, though, all my recommendations have been garbage.
What are your recommendations? I like Oxenfree. I hated Alan Wake.
See, it was primarily just Alan Wake. Because you hate it so much, you talked about it on several podcasts several times.
That's right.
It hurt my heart.
Corey, did you ever play Stray?
No, I'm just kidding. No, I did not play Stray. I don't have any interest.
But it's going to be on... Oh, wait, isn't... It's going to be on... It is on Game Pass, right?
No. It's on sale right now for $21.99, though.
That was a good game. But yeah, so Oxenfree is game 37 of 40. Ooh, 3 more to go. And 2 of those are definitely going to be book club games. So question is, what's going to be number 40?
Ooh, you should make it something special.
I want to, but I have like so many games that are like, you know, in the mix. It's like, can I focus on something when all this new stuff is coming out?
Oh my!
You should platinum Dead or Alive Extreme Beach Volleyball.
I heard that's almost impossible.
No, it's not.
It's hundreds and hundreds of hours from what I understood.
Oh, you'll be fine then. See, lots of gameplay.
I have gamer ADHD and I need to play other things after like 100 hours. Speaking of other things I played, I picked up the new Sonic Superstars.
Yay.
The 2D game from Team Sonic. Supposed to bring back the nostalgia of the old style Sonic games from the Genesis. And let me tell you, it really captures those Genesis games to a fault. And I don't mean that in a positive light.
Ooh, rip.
Yeah, I'm having trouble with Sonic. I'm finding it to be brutally difficult, which is strange because the fact that you don't have lives in this game, so you can die as many times as you want and you just reset at whatever checkpoint you're in. But I swear to God, I swear that someone played the game. Literally, it's like, what would the player do? And then drop enemies or like some stupid trap exactly like where the player would go. So if you like did a long jump, there will be an enemy just like a step before you, so that when you land, you actually just touch the bad guy rather than jump on the bad guy. Or the bad guy will have spikes and hit you and knock you down all the way down to the bottom of the level and not where you're trying to go. It's got all those classic pitfalls that I would say the Genesis games had. So, does it capture classic 2D Sonic? Very much so. With that said, it is a very beautiful game. Like, the 2D graphics really fit well. The controls, they're all right. You know, that Sonic is usually hit or miss with controls, and these aren't particularly floaty as some other Sonics have been. Like Sonic Colors, in my opinion, was a very floaty Sonic. But like the game's got some weird ass physics. Like you could be maybe on like a 15-degree angle and then jump, and your character will like immediately jump like as far as he can in the opposite direction of where you're trying to jump.
Oh my god, that sounds like Sonic the Hedgehog 4 episode 1. Like yeah. I reviewed that game and I gave it like a 4 out of 10.
Yeah, it's I don't, I got to go back and I got to play Generations and Mania again because I remember really liking those ones. I don't know what it is about this one, but I am just not having a good time. I plan on beating it, but I am just like miserable while playing this game. Maybe one of the other characters would be a better suit for me. I'm going out as Sonic. This game you can play as Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, or Amy. And then there's a surprise 5th character once you beat the campaign.
Ooh, surprise 5th character.
Surprise 5th character, and then
Metal
you got...
Sonic? Is it Metal Sonic?
I can't tell you that, because then it wouldn't be a surprise.
Probably Shadow the Hedgehog.
Oh, gross.
Mm-hmm. But
no, he didn't say no. No, Pat did not say no.
Yeah. The thing is, like the 5th character, you're supposed to play through the 5th character, and then you get the true ending of the game. Unlike all the other Sonic games where you had to like collect the emeralds to get your true ending, you don't actually have to do that in this one. The emeralds are actually completely optional. One of the new features that this game does is that each emerald gives you a power up. So, like, you can find the blue emerald first, and that one like shoots off like multiple copies of whatever character you have, and they go like running up and hitting the bad guy. Just kind of all across the screen. Or the red one lets you do like bursts, like midair bursts, so you can jump, charge, and do a midair burst in a separate direction. So it allows you to do some like verticality movements. And there's like another one that's supposed to reveal hidden passages, and I've only used that once. And there's a couple more other abilities that these emeralds have that I haven't gotten yet. But I will say that the levels where you get the emeralds are a pain in the ass. This one is a bonus level where it requires you to grapple these like little blue orbs or these gold orbs which have rings. You have like rings, and they are essentially a countdown. You can get more rings, or they count down a ring every second, but you can get more rings to keep this like timer going. And the goal is to swing and eventually get close enough to the emerald, which is moving around, sometimes in an erratic pattern. Sometimes when you get close to it, it just seems to speed off somewhere. Like, it's just moving all around this weird open pit with all these orbs, and you're trying to catch up to it. And the sucky thing about these stupid orbs is that when you swing in the direction that you grab the orb. And the emerald is usually turning around in a separate direction. So it's like, grab the thing, you're swinging, but the orb is going this way. And so now you're just swinging past the damn, gem. It's kind of annoying. I don't know. It's getting decent reviews, but in my honesty, like, it's nostalgia, but it's also like too nostalgic. Yeah. It brought too much of what, it brought too much of the unrefined early Sonic problems with it.
So it almost just relies too heavily on it, right?
Yeah, like I said in the beginning, I feel like someone looked and it's like, oh, I think the player would do this. Let's put a pitfall or a trap right here so that the person just smacks into it and loses all their hard-earned rings. Also, the boss fights are pretty hard as well and can take a while.
It's not just hit Robotnik 3 times and then he blows up and runs away.
It could be 3 times. It could be 9 times. I don't know. It depends on the machine. And then the opening chance that you have to hit him is a very small window.
I just looked up the developing team for this, Zest, and they were responsible for that wonderful game, Ballin' Wonderworld.
Oh yeah.
Oh, there you go.
That game was amazing. Game of the year.
You mean the game? You mean the game that made Yuji Naka actually commit like fucking
insider trading?
Insider trading twice.
Yeah,
twice.
Yeah. Smart guy.
Yeah. So there you go. There you go. Like the more you know, right?
Yep. Other than that, it's more Assassin's Creed. I'm getting better. I'm enjoying the game more now that I've gotten some abilities to go along with my stealthing. Makes it a little more fun to assassinate people. And also, Detective Pikachu is. I'm enjoying it. It's nice. It's chill. It's a good bedtime game.
Nice.
Damn those reviews. I think it's a stellar game.
I mean, that's, gotta play it for yourself to form your own opinion.
Exactly.
That's what I say.
Well, I've said my piece. Sonic, if you like that, go for it. I'm not enjoying it. I will probably beat it because I'm not going to let the game beat me, even though I think it did.
I will let those games beat me. Like if it's a shit game, like guess what? I'm gonna stop playing
you. All I have is my pride as a gamer. I have
Your
to
pride
win.
As a gamer, so it's no one to hold them, no one to fold them.
Yeah, I should fold them. Maybe when Mario and Spider-Man come out, I can toss this game over somewhere else and focus on those.
What are you playing it on?
I'm playing it on PlayStation 5. I wanted achievements.
If you wanted achievements, you should have played it on Xbox.
And trophies. I wanted recognition for my good deeds and following the story progress.
You wanted that those shame trophies for playing Sonic.
I did Platinum Frontiers when it came out.
Yeah.
That was a good Sonic.
Man, you talking about this game makes me not want to get it. Not that I was going to get it right away anyway, but I'm just like,
$60, I don't think it's worth it.
Yeah. Don't worry, it'll be like how much is Sonic Frontiers on Switch right now? Like $10 most of the time on sale?
I would say it's like 30. When it's on sale, it's probably closer to 20.
Yeah. Sonic Mania, though, that was a gem.
That was good. I kind of want to go back and, again, figure out why Sonic Mania feels better than Sonic Superstars.
Yeah. Man, there's just something about... I don't understand why Sonic games are just mediocre at best all the time. I don't understand why they can't get that right. I mean, not that like
Sonic Mania was made by fans, and
I know.
that's like the magic was captured.
Yeah.
It's honestly the same reason why we always say like some of our franchises they go right. Corey, you would love to be able to like advise on the next Destiny game, wouldn't you?
I mean,
sure. Okay. Stephanie, you would love to advise for the next Legend of Zelda game, wouldn't you?
I would love to. What about the next Legend of Zelda game?
She wasn't even paying attention.
No, I heard it, but I didn't hear the verb.
Advise
for the next Legend of Zelda game, wouldn't you?
Tell them how you want to make it.
You would love to have some input on development, wouldn't you?
Me, does it matter?
No.
Let Zelda be the main character. Go back to more dungeon-focused gameplay.
Here's what I'll tell you.
You would love to advise for the next Final Fantasy game, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
I got
ideas.
I would love to advise for Monster Hunter 6. I would love to have input and be like, hey, this is something that I believe like all of us fans, would just go nuts for.
Well, see, LeRon, that's why I had a hard time responding, because I don't have the confidence enough to be able to speak for Legend of Zelda. I just like, Nintendo, you know what you're doing.
Every time you try to rip my head off my fucking shoulders when I say something about Ocarina of Time.
Because that is my favorite game, that's all.
There you go. Just tell Nintendo to make more Ocarina of Time.
Okay,
I'm pretty sure you've literally threatened to castrate me in your mind.
Yikes.
whenever I start disparaging against.
I tend to threaten the nuts. That's my go-to.
Right, yeah.
See, you would love Final Fantasy VII then. There's a whole argument in that game about how to, crush nuts.
Perfect.
LeRon, here's the game I would actually like to have input on the next Gears
Halo.
Game. No, the next
Gears game. Okay, I thought it was going to be Halo.
No, I don't care what happens to Halo.
I'm very curious of what your input would be. How would you rectify how the end of Gears 5?
We will say, as a matter of fact, that is going to be our topic for Boss Rush Podcast number 206. What would we want to change in our favorite game series? So it's going to be Halo for you, Corey.
Nope.
It'll be
Gears.
I'm sorry, Gears. I'm sorry, Gears. My bad. I know you said Gears like 3 times. And I still said Halo because I feel like with all the stuff you said about what was it 303?
343?
343. Thank you. Like that shows how much I care about Halo. With 343 and like all the stuff they've done wrong over the past few cycles of Halo and stuff like that, I thought that would have been your game if not Destiny.
The only Halo game I actually think is bad is 5. Halo 4 is like my second favorite game in the series. I love Halo 4.
So here we go. Just go ahead and just type it in the chat. Like you guys type it in the chat for what game we're going to talk about next week. For what games anybody's going to talk about next week. And there's our topic.
Good topic, LeRon.
Yeah.
How many minutes will it take for us to forget this topic after we hang up from this call?
We're not going to forget because I'm going to hijack the doc.
Oh, God. Okay. Speaking of hijacking, let's get into some news. Not really news, but just a topic, I guess. Newsworthy topic. Analogue, which Stephanie just bought the Analogue Pocket, is releasing the Analogue 3D, a device that will allow players to play Nintendo 64 games, supposedly up to 4K. So that's kind of like the news bit, but also like, what do we think of these retro devices that lets us play our old games, and are they worth it? Especially like especially like N64. We obviously gave Stephanie a little bit of a hard time with it, but like also like the Nintendo 64 is an important console to a lot of people, including me. So
I know LeRon has a lot to say about this, and not even in a sassy way. Like he actually has a lot of helpful information. But what I probably want to, I was preparing all this in my head. My first comment though actually is about the company Analogue. I'm surprised, even though I was like all excited, like ooh, N64. I don't have insight to their financials, but I mean their Analogue Pocket really is still kind of newish, like in recent years, and unless you guys know, I didn't think this company was so successful that they're already so soon and working on the one for N64, if that makes sense. Like, I didn't realize this company was so successful. They're kind of pumping out all of these products, in my opinion, relatively soon. Or do you guys think this is not a small window of released products?
Well, given that the Analog Pocket came out, you told me like 2021, 2022?
Looks like
that's when they announced pre-orders, I think.
Yeah.
So this system is relatively new. Mm-hmm. Like more than likely they've been, by the time they perfected this and got it ready for pre-orders and stuff like that, they were already doing the research and development for like their next endeavor.
Probably, but like, wouldn't it be kind of a risky business decision because they don't know how successful or unsuccessful? Because imagine just in case, like, what if the Analog Pocket bombed, but they're already like 50% through R&D for the N64 one? Or does that?
I'm glad you asked that question, honestly, because like here's the thing about it, and I think this is kind of the thing that we kind of crusade on these shows. We're all for game preservation. And as long as like, emulators are going to be around, and they're not going to get outlawed, like the big N is not going to like squash every freaking like endeavor for emulators anywhere and stuff like that. Uh there's going to be people who are going to make emulation machines and stuff like that. So that's a wonderful question you asked there, Stephanie, because you guys know me, I'm all about emulators like shit. I bought a 2 terabyte like SSD for my Steam Deck just to supplement my emulation library. And yes, I'm emulating everything under the damn sun that can be emulated right now, as far as like traditional consoles go. But yeah, as long as the emulators are a thing that cannot be defeated, like and people actively seek them and want them. And here's the thing about it: like most people can like do emulation for free. Most people can do emulation for like pennies on the dollar. Like I think you can grab a Raspberry Pi, a couple of things, and you can make your own emulator. It can play up to and including the Xbox 360 for less than $100.
But is that really user friendly?
It is.
Like, can a moron like me do that though? Like for me, this is why I have to lean on stuff like this, because I don't have the technical prowess to do so.
Well, that's the thing about it, like you can literally go to YouTube and like check out like all the stuff it takes to do these things. Some of these videos are not even like 20 minutes long, and they're very intuitive and stuff like that, things like that. I think anybody with any level of knowledge, they can be dunce cap level of knowledge, can take a Raspberry Pi kit and put it together, or at least just jump on their fucking Windows 95 machine, download MAME, and get the running with 64 megabytes of DDR RAM, like DDR1. We're on DDR5 now. Yeah, but going back to your question, as long as emulators are a thing, and as long as people want to play like old games that for the most part are just like trouble and problematic to play in this day and age on either their existing consoles. Let's look at it this way: like NES games look like trash on like our modern televisions now. Like shoot, anything. Honestly, anything before the PS2, and that's stretching it because PS2 and Xbox games kind of look bad now on some of these TVs, but people just want to play play games that they grew up with or they love their stuff, or even games they're doing research for. Like Stephanie, I guarantee you, Stephanie's trying to go back and play every freaking Zelda game under the sun, that she's never played, and there are a few out there. I know there are, Stephanie. I know there are.
That's a good 2024 goal.
Yeah.
Play them all in order.
Are you gonna play a CD? Are you gonna play a CDI game? Games?
They don't count.
There's 2 of them, right?
They don't count.
They totally count.
You guys can't have revisionist history. We can't. If us
they don't count because you can't find them readily available.
Wand of Gamelon's the GOAT.
Are you Are you saying that on a show where you've got a guy here that has every emulator on his ROG Ally?
Wait, you can't find them legitimately.
I will send you guys a Dropbox link tomorrow morning.
Well, I have another thing on emulation, but before that, I know Corey, you try to say something. So, what do you want to throw into the ring here?
Well, it doesn't make sense at this point in the conversation, but I was just going to throw out that Analogue has been doing these for years. They released an NES version of these. They released a Super Nintendo version of these. They released they released a Genesis one, but they also released a six console version and a 4 console version.
Is the Retcon Analogue, or is that someone else?
I'm not 100% sure, but I think Analogue has definitely been releasing since the an NES and an SNES version, and then this one, and this is actually the second run of the Game Boy version.
Don't keep finished. Sorry.
I was just gonna say the original run there was a silver one and a black one. Were the original run, which I really wanted that black one, but
this must be a niche thing then, because they always have very limited quantities. and pre-orders probably are what fund them to make it, right? So
yeah.
And then going back to emulation, I guess the way because I want to word it, because I personally have no judgments against anyone who emulate. I just don't care, whatever. If you can emulate. But maybe the Analogue and I don't know other companies that do this, maybe they're just trying to do the right way that's not steal. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care, but I'm just saying, like, maybe that's the market that they're trying to fill for the no emulation way to preserve games.
The problem is though, like, I feel like this is skirting really close, because like Nintendo just had a crackdown where they basically are making it hard now for you to get the kids to like to basically rip the games off the cartridges. Like, they just had a crackdown, and honestly, this technology is like maybe like half a step from where that is. Plus the fact that I feel like did they buy the patents? I'm just going to use the Nintendo here for the rest of this conversation, because we're rolling into the Analog 64, the N64 on the Analog 4K, or whatever they're going to call it. Did they get the patents, to do this stuff from Nintendo? I feel like either one of two things is happening here. Either Nintendo's looking the other way because they know, like, they're having the hardest time like emulating their own product on the Nintendo Switch Online store, or they're in bed with these guys.
Could the technology just be slightly more different to the point where copyright isn't protected?
I would say,
but how different can it be though? Because I've seen people get shut down for stuff that's very similar, but not the same architecture.
Well, if it's as long as it's like 10% different, copyright can.
Plus, if these consoles are over 20 years old and they haven't renewed the patent for them, then they can do whatever they want. Also, because there are retro boxes that use the insides of old NESs and stuff, like literally use the old components and parts and stuff, and they will either retrofit an HDMI port on the back or just do it as is with an adapter.
So why did Nintendo shut down like Super Smash Brothers from Super Smash? Which one from being used at any tournament now?
Because they wanted people to.
Because the GameCube is 22 years old.
Because they wanted people to focus on the new game, and that was a couple years ago. At this point, there are still Smash tournaments going on for that, but they're like community organized and stuff. They're not like official.
Oh yeah, they are. They are now. Yeah, but but before Nintendo was like, oh hey, this is a thing. Like like they were like, nah, shut it down.
Yeah, but they also signed an esports agreement with Panda something. I forget what the company's called, but I'm
not really sure who they are, because I don't really care about Smash Brothers.
Yeah, I don't either. They do Mario Kart, Splatoon, and Smash Brothers are the three games that they kind of do. But
well, like I said, it's all fishy in my opinion.
Yeah. Before we. Sorry. Continue, LeRon. Sorry, I didn't.
No. I was just rambling about it being fishy, because because I actually read the article. Because Christopher Tabor, he's the CEO for Analogue, and he pointed out some things which I kind of basically brought up, basically, where is it? I'm sorry. Okay, so Tabor suggested that Nintendo can't do much better with the problematic N64 software on an emulation front, which is why N64, for example, like people really like this sticks out like a sore thumb on NSO and stuff like that. Like the Nintendo 64 classic GoldenEye 007 on Switch Online is like one of the roughest conversions ever. Like it's one of the worst ports. It's weighed down by issues with sound, music, graphics, speed, and bugs even after an update came out for the game. And this is from the company that owns the original N64 hardware. and software schematics and the code and stuff like that. So, you know, like if they're not sinking their own R&D into fixing it, which by the way, the GameCube release of Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time is lauded as one of the best like ports of any game out there, the GameCube version. And I actually did some research, like the team who they had to build an emulator from the ground up. And let's be honest with you, Nintendo does not want to do that for every game. Like they will do it for some games, like Legend of Zelda, for example, but they won't do it for every game, you know?
Yeah, well, remember that was the big problem on the eShop was like Nintendo used an emulated version of Super Mario Brothers. Because they couldn't get theirs to run on their own emulator.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, you know, stuff like that. It's situations like that, which basically brings me back to the question: how are they able? How is Analogue going to be able to do this? You know, I understand like with the technology they're using. The what was that? What was that acronym? Crap. Oh, the FPGA, the Field Programmable Gate Array System. You know, basically for tech talk here with LeBron for a moment, like FPGA is something that it can be coded to recreate every single function, processing speed, and quirk of an older computer or game system, and then translate the results to modern TV signals. So basically, because everybody's screens is some form or another an LCD screen, you know, except for OLEDs, because OLEDs is different technology, but everything else is LCDs. Well, not just LEDs. LCDs, LEDs, light emitting diodes for the most part. Even OLEDs light emitting, but they're light emitting diodes, but they're organically driven. And this is so like people will not have to go out and buy like some old antique ass fucking CRT television and stuff like that, you know. Yes, you know what, we can't play video games, you know, on PS2 and older, you know, on new monitors and new TVs because of the lag and stuff like that. Trust me, like I learned my lesson the hard way trying to play my old music games, like rhythm games. Like that's how you learn about timing. Because your refresh rate, nobody's refresh rate is the same. Like I don't care. You can have like two people can have a 60 hertz refresh like screen, and there's some type of difference in the lag and delay that each person will experience individually and stuff like that. You know.
Yeah.
So that's the thing about it, you know. Like, and yeah, a lot of us we joke about it. Like, hey man, if I'm gonna play Dance Dance Revolution Supernova. I'm just gonna go buy an old television from a pawn shop and hook my PlayStation back up.
What do you think? Before we get into this actual device, what do you think about the Mister, the emulator box that had?
I don't know anything about it.
Oh, you should look it up. That seems like a device that's totally right up your alley, LeRon. It can play. It's made for.
Is it MISTR? Is that what?
MISTR, I think it is.
Okay, MISTR. Okay.
Yeah. It's just like this emulation box that's like they send it out. They like the box gets updates. It has a Patreon.
It's ER. It's ER.
Is it? Okay. I wasn't sure. But it's like an emulation box that like they can send updates and new kind of, you know, emulation packages. The one they're working on right now is Sega Saturn, and they've got it pretty decent. Like a Sega Saturn emulation, pretty decent, which is like one of the hardest consoles to emulate at this point.
It is trust me, it is one of the hardest ones.
Yeah. So I just didn't know if you knew anything about it, but you should look into that.
Actually, I have heard about. Oh yeah, I have heard about this. Yeah, it's kind of cool because it's like a board sitting on top of a board on top of another board. It's actually pretty cool. I've seen it before. I just didn't recognize the name.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, because like your original question was about just emulation like boxes and stuff like that, like back at the beginning of the segment. I'll be honest with you, like I never really like got into them, you know, because in all honesty, I'm kind of one of those people where you know, like with the way emulators are on PC and stuff like that, I'm one of those people, I want to play all the games. And, you know, like each one of these have their limitations. Like each one of them only like emulates certain types of games or certain brands of games or even certain eras of games and stuff like that. They don't play at all, you know, and stuff like that, you know. And yeah, it's true. Like not every emulator is on PC is also capable of doing. They're getting better and stuff like that. But I'll put it like this, like. You know, like we don't really need emulation for modern for modern consoles, it's nice that we do have them. I'm looking at Yuzu and Ryujinx, for example.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice that we do have them, but we don't need emulation for modern consoles, in my opinion. We just need emulation for the stuff that's past, that's hard to find. And I just found out a Wii U was sold this year.
Mm-hmm.
They sold one Wii U hit the NPD sales. I was amazed. I wonder how did it go for MSRP or how much did it sell for?
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Because it was sold out of a retail store. So what is the actual like ticket price right now for a Wii U?
Oh, you can get. Well, this was as of last year, but you could get Wii U bundles from GameStop or even refurbished ones from Nintendo for less than $200.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're
okay.
I'm sure they have. I'm sure they produced so many because they thought it was going to be a hit after the Wii that I'm sure there were a ton in warehouses that they're just like selling them as refurbished ones just to get rid of them.
Yeah. Now the one thing I will say about emulators, and I'll shut up, is be careful with emulators, especially with current consoles, because emulation and piracy is literally what killed the Dreamcast, the PSP. There's another console out there. There's like 3 or 4 consoles that
the 3DS
that emulation
or the DS is pretty easy to crack open.
Oh yeah, DS is very. That's what got Nintendo all up in arms about this shit. They weren't really caring about NES and Super NES games, but when a DS started getting cracked, they started caring.
I still think that's why they moved the release date up of the next console. Supposedly,
why?
Because of security, not because of popularity declining. I think it's because of the security problem.
I mean, is it really declining though? Like I found out Nintendo Switch was number one again in NPD sales, at least over in Japan. They're declining over here.
That's what I'm saying.
Over here in the West, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Is like the console is still super popular, and like they're gonna put out a new system next year. Like that doesn't make sense financially unless you're afraid of the security problem.
Which that could be it, but,
it's not that hard to find a launch Switch because everybody traded them in when the OLEDs came out or like the lights came out, So.
Holy moly! The Analogue dock is $100.
Wow.
Spicy.
Is it powerful? I mean,
does it wipe your ass and pick your nose? And
I wasn't gonna ask those questions. I was just gonna ask will it elevate your experience?
Yeah, I had the specs up. 1 second. But yeah, keep talking. Or we move.
I think we're done with this topic. I think so. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. Look at that. I didn't even bash on the thing. because I think going.
We haven't really talked about it yet. To be
no.
Okay.
All right.
That is true.
As we transition, so the dock has a 1080p HDMI output, Bluetooth and 2.4G support for wireless controllers, 2 USB inputs for wired controllers, up to 4-player support, DAC compatibility, and powered dock.
Okay, yeah, you know what? You've said enough. That thing elevates your experience.
Okay.
As soon as you said DAC, basically okay, DAC, that's stereo technology and stuff like that. So you can basically hook it up to where your receivers and stuff can pump it out to your sound systems or sound bars and stuff like that. Yeah, that right there is good. Wireless controllers, that's good. And there was one other thing you said at the very beginning, but all that's good. So yeah, I think that kind of justifies that $100.
How do you feel about this N64 one, Steph? Like for real, because I know you're probably super interested in it.
Yeah, I mean, I initially got excited just because it's my console I grew up with. I mean, whether or not I end up buying it depends. I still have my traditional Nintendo 64, and LeRon did have a point back in our chat where, as much as I look very fondly at N64, and it was very revolutionary for its time, as far as how graphics have aged and just experiencing it currently, it's pretty ugly. Do I really want a more enhanced ugly? I don't know if I do. But I do appreciate, what Analogue is doing as far as providing a means of playing cartridges that people have that might not have a working N64 anymore and an ability to play those funky, chunky blocks. So, yeah, I think it's great. I just, unfortunately, I know it's niche, right? It's going to be expensive, whether it's justified or not. It's going to be expensive and it's going to be hard to get. That's the down that for me from a plain Jane knows nothing about technology standpoint.
I bet it hovers around $300 or $350. I know the NES one was, when it came out, was $200, and that was like 10 or 12 years ago.
I mean, this is a unique time period because in general, I feel that the video game industry is still young compared to all the other industries that are out there, right? We're kind of hitting our first true wave of nostalgia because it's going to hit a lot of us older millennials. And LeRon, even though he said, emulation is relatively inexpensive and you can watch a YouTube video, there's going to be plenty of me's out there that are kind of looking for, hey, I have 2 or 3 cardboard boxes, not me, of Nintendo 64 games. What the hell am I going to do with it? So,
right. Yeah, I think that the Nintendo 64 is, like I said, it's an important console to a lot of people. Obviously, it didn't sell as well as Nintendo would have hoped, but nobody can deny how important Mario 64, Ocarina of Time, Perfect Dark, and GoldenEye were to like the evolution of the console stuff, right? So, I mean, I know shooters were on PC like way before that with Wolfenstein and Doom and even stuff like Hexen and Quake, but like
it's funny.
What?
Perfect Dark and GoldenEye basically birthed console shooters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's wild.
Hold on, we had Doom 64 and Doom on Super Nintendo.
That was so niche. Was so niche.
I can't even keep it straight.
That was for people who could not carry their computers with them that's like military people. They couldn't just bring a computer with them to like a duty station and stuff. Yeah. So they had to have a console or something,
Yeah.
You brought up another interesting point earlier, LeRon, now that I'm kind of coming to my own personal conclusion about if Nintendo had a better selection of their N64 games than NSO, I probably wouldn't be looking so hard at Analogue.
That's the other thing too. I think it was like a month ago. I asked like, what's the next roadmap for Nintendo's NSO? Mm-hmm. What's the next roadmap? Are they even? First of all, they rolled it out so damn late, in the life of the console that it's like I almost feel like now like folks wasted their money buying into it.
Well, the thing is, the idea is that Nintendo has finally created an account like a PlayStation ID or a gamer tag, right? Like that's the idea supposedly, and this is just going to roll over to the next console, and they'll figure out. I hope so. Also, like most of the games you want to play on there are either owned by somebody else or are sold in collections, right? Like half the Nintendo 64 library was Rare, and that's owned by Microsoft, and they're all on Rare Replay. So
I can only hope so, because like I can only buy the Super Metroid so many more times. I bought it on the Wii. Mm-hmm. I bought it on the 3DS. Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. I bought that multiple times on their virtual consoles, and stuff like that. There's about 4 or 5 like old school games that I keep and as long as I keep them at like that nice price, like for the longest time they're like $5. Now they're creeping up to almost $15.
Well, then that's kind of what it comes down to, right? Because just because the N64 library in NSO is relatively small now doesn't mean it's always going to stay that way. Like maybe Nintendo has no problem taking their time, and maybe eventually they'd work their way up. Maybe they develop that good relationship. Well, they already have one with Microsoft to get rare game, whatever. Like maybe down the line, the library will be chunky enough where that will be most Nintendo fans' means of consuming older Nintendo games. But at least for now, this is why I kind of I'm Analogue has at least caught my eye. So
I love that you said about like with Microsoft and Rare, because I think Microsoft will bend over backwards to give Nintendo whatever they want, because Microsoft wants to buy Nintendo at a certain point. And it's one of those things. Be nice to me. It's one of those type of deals. Be nice to me, because you never know what I'll do for you. Yeah.
And Nintendo isn't the best with the whole video game preservation to begin with. If you look at any other non-Nintendo game, most of the time you can find them on some platformer means to play it.
Yeah, Sony doesn't come after motherfuckers, well, not that hard, about emulation, I've been keeping my eye on the whole Wipeout thing, because that company just dropped Wipeout like as a free-to-play web game, and is basically a remake of Wipeout. And they even dared Sony. They're like, hey, like, Sony, like, make us take it down, or and make your own, or leave us alone, stuff like that. So it's kind of cool. The fifth generation of video games, though, which ran from 93 to 2001, basically that was the Saturn, the PlayStation, and Nintendo 64. It's a wonderful era of gaming, but it's also the ugliest era of gaming I've ever experienced, and that's counting the fact that I was old enough to play and experience the Atari 2600. But it was one of those growing pains that the gaming industry had to go through, because like everything else that came, like, people sat up and paid attention when PS2 and the Xbox, and the GameCube came out. People sat up and paid attention to that. Like, the GameCube was probably the first system of Nintendo I took seriously since the Super Nintendo. The Wii. I fell for the gimmick, but I didn't think it was anything groundbreaking, as far as graphics and stuff went,
Two GameCubes taped together. That's the joke.
I remember that saying. Yeah. But I mean, yeah. But ultimately, I'm going to keep my eye on this analog 4K or whatever they're going to call it. I'm going to keep my eye on it. I just want to see how they pull it off, and I want to see if it's going to be something that's comparable, because like there's a lot going for it, and I also want to see what Nintendo's reaction is going to be to this, because this will literally bump into Nintendo's wallet, because like Nintendo is actively putting N64 games on a current platform of theirs.
Are they actively?
I mean,
that's a strong
you know what I mean. Hey, it got people to bump up from $15 to $35 a year, for their service. It did, and and it's wild, because I sit there and think, I was like, man, we literally paid this money for Game Boy Advance, Game Boy, Sega Genesis, and Nintendo 64.
Mm-hmm.
Did I miss one? Game Boy Color.
No, Game Boy Color, yeah. And Game Boy Advance.
Yeah, well, Game Boy. I feel like Game Boy and Game Boy Color are still the same generation.
They are. I would say that too.
Yeah, it's the same, because like if you put a non Game Boy Color game into a Game Boy Color, it actually puts colors on there.
Yeah, and you can change the color palette at the start screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, because like technically making these devices in emulation isn't illegal, but the ROMs are. And so if you're using the cartridges on a console that's not, obviously in production, like if Analogue went out and made like a PlayStation 5 variant, right, they would be toast. Woo. But Nintendo 64,
Jim Ryan would come out of retirement to get them.
I mean, Nintendo 64.
Jim Ryan's like, one more round, boys.
Yeah. I mean,
Daddy Jim. I'm gonna miss Daddy Jim when he officially steps out the office. I'm gonna miss him. We're no longer gonna be able to say Daddy Jim and Uncle Phil are fighting. We're no longer gonna be able to say that.
Yeah. So I forget what I was saying. Oh well.
You're talking about like they'd be toast.
I get excited. I love these. I love these conversations. I get excited.
Right. So like if you're using the cartridges that you already own, I think Nintendo would be, maybe Nintendo thinks this would be like a boon to their relevance. Not that the Switch hasn't done that already, but you know what I mean? Like people will get excited for Nintendo stuff, and maybe this will get people to bump up to whatever NSO thing that they don't have already, or I don't know. We'll see. That'd be an interesting topic, though, is to discuss like what is coming next to NSO, because I have a lot of theories on that, but we'll save that for a different day.
Okay.
Yeah, save that for another conversation, because I have nothing that can contribute to that conversation. So I just want to sit back and listen to you guys.
Yeah. So, all right, let's get into our final topic of the night. Our favorite superhero games and why we love them, and Yeah, I listed about 5. I probably have like closer to 10 to talk about, but I just listed the 5 that I thought were the most kind of relevant for me, at least. Pat, you want to go first?
Mm-hmm. Sure, I'll go first with this one. Just wanted to say a final thing for the Analogue, though. As long as I can play Mystical Ninja starring Gomon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
that was the greatest N64 game ever.
That game is definitely like one of the more rare and more pricey ones if you want to still find a copy.
I have both of the Gomons somewhere. Nice. I gotta find them.
Yeah, at the local retro game store, I think the Mystical Ninja Goemon was $118.
Jeez.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, yeah.
Great game, though.
Yeah.
Anyways, superhero games. So I was thinking, because Spider-Man 2 is coming out here in the next couple days, or it's already out by the time you listen to this, and it's being told right now it's the most phenomenal, like the greatest superhero game ever made, is what people are saying right now. So that's some pretty high praises. I was thinking, looking back at some of my favorite games, and I have to say I do enjoy the new Spider-Man. I thought it is probably one of the best Spider-Mans out there to date. But there was another Spider-Man that really won my heart, and that was Spider-Man's Shattered Dimensions for the Xbox 360 and the PS3. I love this one. It's a more level-based Spider-Man, but you play as 4 different Spider-Mans. You can play as the Spectacular Spider-Man, Noir Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2099, and the Ultimate Spider-Man, which was the symbiote style. And the thing I loved about this game is that each one of those Spider-Mans played very differently from the other one. And they brought like all the A-class villains to this game. The main one was Mysterio, but you had a Doc Ock, you had a Green Goblin, you had a Hobgoblin, you had the Sandman, you even had Hammerhead. Like, you had all these different variations of the bad guys. One of the Spider-Mans, I think it was the Ultimate Spider-Man, was voiced by Neil Patrick Harris, which is awesome.
Nice.
Deadpool was even in the game as one of the villains, and that was kind of before Deadpool was like really getting popular. Like, I've just really enjoyed this game. Just
sounds
the
like
whole,
a lot of fun.
Yeah, just 4 different Spider-Mans that you can play as, and each one had its own style, such as like, for example, Spider-Man Noir was more of a stealth-based Spider-Man. So you took your bad guys out, stealthily. But then, like, I forget what some of the other specials were, but it was cool. Other ones that I have fond memories of is Batman Returns for the Super Nintendo. The reason I have fond memories of this is that it was one of the first few games that I had for the Super Nintendo, so I played it regularly. And I just remember like just trying to beat this game, and when I finally did beat that game, it was such a good feeling, because it was a hard game, especially when you fought like Catwoman. Jeez, she's vicious in that game. But it was cool, and Batman Returns is one of my favorite Batmans. I love the Tim Burton style to it. And then the Penguin had such a scary voice in that game. It was like, I don't know. It was weird. But I say out of the new Batmans, I'm still very fond of Batman Arkham Asylum. To me, that one, like, it was the start of something great with Rocksteady. And it wasn't fully open world. Like, it was more level based on like a hub world. But it had some great characters to it. And a fairly decent story. And it was nice to explore the Arkham grounds. And finally, for an interesting throw to the superhero games, Saints Row 4, I will consider a superhero game.
My man. I love the Saints Row series, especially like 3 on. I love it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at 3 on, the games just got batshit crazy, and 4,
it was enjoyable. Oh my god!
4, the Earth literally gets blown up, and the Saints get thrown into this computer matrix like simulation, and in this computer simulation, they have superpowers. So you will literally go around flying around the world, or like doing superhero landings, and just like power up various superhero abilities. It like just completely changed the whole sandbox Grand Theft Auto like style, and just made it absolutely wacky, but still keeping the Saints Row touch, such as mascots that you can beat and giant purple dildos that you can swing.
God.
As well as racing down the streets and cars being pulled by men in leather straps.
Wasn't the giant dildo thing like that was like a pre-order thing? Like you couldn't just get that regular in the game. Like you had.
I thought that one was a regular. I thought the dubstep gun was a pre-order.
Oh, it was a dubstep gun. That's what it was. That's what it was.
You could literally kill people with dubstep.
Remember when they would send preview coverage to people for that? They would send the game or the code inside the giant dildo bat.
Yes.
Different times.
You know, that's still also one of my favorite weapons to use in Cyberpunk 2077. They also have a dildo knife.
Yikes.
That you can
they do.
beat people.
Yes, they do. Yes.
Yeah. It's a non-lethal weapon, but it's still like just fun to beat up. Like
the fact that you could just shank somebody with a dildo knife.
Yep. But yeah, those would be 5 superhero games that I particularly enjoyed growing up.
Nice. LeRon?
Okay, so I've got 2 that I want to just point out. And that would be the original X-Men game for the Sega Genesis. Now I'm a big X-Men fan, so I played a lot of the X-Men games that have come out over time. One real thing about me though, like I'm one of those people, like I don't really play a lot of licensed games, and by licensed I mean games made off of other IPs, like original stuff. So like I'm kind of a hard sell. So like like when I play certain games that like stand out, like like Spider-Man, for example, on PS4, or like Marvel's Ultimate Alliance or Batman Arkham Asylum, stuff like that. Like it's really got to be something that just looks good and fun to me. Like the original Spider-Man game, the first one Activision did for PS1. Fucking amazing. I loved it. It had that right type of cheesiness too. Peter Parker had all his quips that you would expect and stuff like that. And what was funny is like the ground was literally lava in that game. Like you could only swing through the city and do your stuff on like high rises or like going underground in the sewers and stuff like that. They did not do a texture mapping for the streets. So like if you went below a certain threshold of the web swinging, you died. It was that's how zany it was. But I mean, that. But going back to X-Men for Sega Genesis, you know what? That was just a fun game. It was a game that was basically like, and this wasn't a port of like the X-Men arcade game from back in the day, the one where 6 people could play at one cabinet. This was literally a 2-player game. You plug 2 controllers into the Sega if you had a friend that wanted to play with you and stuff like that. But 9 times out of 10, you usually just play by yourself, because like it was also one of those games where your co-op friend, like if your co-op friend is lagging behind and you move too far forward, you can fall off a cliff because like they were lagging behind and you lose a man. And when your characters died in the X-Men game, because there was 1, 2, 3, 4. I want to say there was 6 different X-Men that you could play with, or maybe
I just remembered Nightcrawler and Cyclops.
Nightcrawler, Cyclops, Storm.
Wolverine had to have been in it.
Wolverine was in it, yeah. I think there was 6. Now that I think about it.
Are you talking about the arcade game or the Genesis game still?
The Genesis game.
Yeah, Wolverine was definitely in it.
Yeah. Well, if you fell off a cliff or whatnot, like Jean Grey would be the one to levitate the next character in. It was wild, stuff like that, but it was fun because it actually had a pretty decent story to it. It actually felt like some people who knew what they were doing with the comics, was behind the story. I can't say the same thing for the second X-Men game that came out on Genesis. That one was just off,
the 4 were Gambit, Nightcrawler, Wolverine, and Cyclops.
Gambit. Okay, so it was 4 characters. I thought it was 6. I thought it was 6 you could play with.
No, there were more in it, but those were the ones that you could choose. Like Storm was in it.
Yeah, but just going back and forth to places like the Savage Land, Mojo's Murder World, Asteroid M. No, not Asteroid M. Whatever Magneto's base was on the moon. That one. Also, Shi'ar. That was cool. Shi'ar's homeworld and stuff like that. It was just fun. I enjoyed it. And that's when I have really fond memories of. And that's like an early experience of superhero gaming, for me. But I think the next game I well and truly enjoyed that was a superhero game was Infamous for PS3. As a matter of fact, I'm just gonna say the Infamous series, Infamous 1, 2, and Festival of Blood. That was good because that's a game where you actually created.
You forgot Second Son.
Yeah, and First Light.
I didn't like Second Son that much, and I really wasn't feeling First Light. Okay, let's put it this way. I didn't like Second Son enough to actually want to beat the game, so I put the game down.
That was the very first game I've ever platinumed.
A Second Son?
Yep.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. Was it worth it?
For platinum, it wasn't bad. The bad playthrough, felt really forced, but overall, I enjoyed that game. Yeah. But I haven't really played 1 or 2.
Okay, well, that was the unique gimmick to Infamous. When Infamous first came out, it was one of those games where you basically sculpted your own hero or your own villain and stuff like that, because you had the karma mechanic where basically there was no straddling the line. You couldn't be you can't be how Shepard is in Mass Effect, which Shepard might as well be a superhero as well, in my opinion. But you couldn't be like Shepard, where you could literally straddle the line and be between Paragon and Renegade. You were one or the other in Infamous. Whatever your choices picked, basically ran you into one side or the other. So you were either what was it called, an Avenger or chaotic.
That's cool.
Yeah. So the crazy part is there are certain things that could completely fuck up your karma. You could do one thing, you could have the highest karma of one side, and you could do one thing, and it would immediately switch you over to the opposite karma. So you literally had to play by the rules that you set for yourself and stuff like that, or you could literally do damage to your overall reputation and stuff like that, which is cool because some people didn't give a fuck about their reputation. They want to be the bad guy, or some people really want to be the good guy and do the right thing and stuff like that. And but the cool thing about Infamous' story though is it basically was the birth of a superhero. Pat, you never played a game, but basically the first game, basically what happens is when you press start on the game, you see this big explosion that damn near wipes out the city that you're going to be in and stuff like that, and your character is at the center of it, and then you have to piece together what's going on and stuff like that, and there's time travel involved and all sorts of stuff, and this stuff actually carries over to the second game, not so much what your choices are and stuff like that carry over to the second game. But the second game is actually a continuation with those same characters, as you go through, and it continues the storyline. And that storyline finishes overall in the second Infamous game. Now, Festival of Blood was fun, but Festival of Blood was basically a side mission that was stuck in the middle of the second Infamous game. But yeah, Infamous was fun. As a matter of fact, it was the first game. It was the first PS3 game that I ran on emulator when I got the ROG Ally. It was the first one. I was I was like, man, I really want to come back to this because like you can't play it on any console right now, on any modern PlayStation console right now. So yeah, that's it for me.
All right. Well, Stephanie, do you want to talk about any games before I go?
Yeah, I'll be quick. The only real major one, superhero game I've ever played was Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm not sure why I don't have a deep history of playing superhero games, because as a kid, I grew up watching the animated Batman show and X-Men and stuff like that, and I love Marvel, at least the first generation of Marvel, then I got marveled out. But I don't know. I guess fate never really aligned with me when it came to superhero games, but I did love Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. It was just a lot of fun. There's something that I really connected with Star-Lord with. I mean, not that I have his personality at all, probably the opposite, but I just liked how he's a superhero, but he's also he's half human being, but like he looks like a human being. He's kind of like with a fuck up, or like not like your typical hero's personality, which I appreciate. And I like the different team members that you have. You could make some decisions. It was just a very fun game where I didn't feel necessarily overpowered, which sometimes maybe I can feel if I'm in the mindset of a superhero. And then it just reminded me when you guys were talking about Batman. I technically played the Telltale game for Batman, and I really did like that.
That was a good one.
Yeah, like it was very good quality. So, so for the few experiences that I had, they were good ones. I am very much looking forward to whenever the Wolverine game eventually comes out, because I know that I will for sure be playing that one.
Yes, Wolverine. That's been my most anticipated PlayStation game since it was announced.
I know. I'm just waiting and waiting.
All you saw was a trailer.
I know, but I know this is a generic answer, especially for people who grew up like in the 90s and like late 80s, but Wolverine is my favorite Marvel character. And I forgot to put that game on my list. Oh, well, I'll talk
I'm like, I feel like you should have Wolverine X-Men Origins on here.
I'm gonna talk about that. I totally spaced on that. But yeah, so my favorite superhero games, I guess, X-Men the arcade game is like the best. It's the best brawler, and I'm really sad that it's not backwards compatible. I actually plugged in my Xbox 360 probably a year ago to play it because it was so fun. But it's only fun with the six player cabinet is the ultimate version of that game. They made a 4 and a 6 player cabinet, but Wolverine is awesome in that game. Cyclops, Nightcrawler, Storm. I think Colossus is a playable character. I forget who the sixth character is. I think it's Rogue. Dazzler. Right, Dazzler. I was always Wolverine, and if I couldn't be Wolverine, I usually went to Cyclops. But man, that game is awesome.
I was a Cyclops and Storm person, even though I will say Wolverine had the best close up like melee combo.
Yeah, man, the swipes with like the lasers coming out of the
yeah,
which is totally not a Wolverine move, but I liked it anyway. It's funny though because I actually came to like Storm later. I really loved the X-Men when I was younger, and I just was always drawn to Wolverine and Professor X, and that was my jam growing up. But I honestly, it was probably the movies, and that Halle Berry was Storm, and I had a huge crush on Halle Berry.
I had a huge crush on Halle Berry, but I did not like most of those X-Men movies. I did not like the first one, and the fact that they gave her one of the worst fucking lines ever in that movie.
Yeah, I mean, but the fact is we never had any movies like that growing up. Obviously, Marvel is 35 movies a year now and 800 TV shows, but back then, getting an X-Men movie was such a novel idea. Granted, They don't hold up.
It was.
Right. They clearly don't hold up as well as like you would want them to, but man, those movies just brought back so many like good feelings when those movies came out. X2 is awesome though.
X2 was a much better movie than the original X-Men was. Yeah, that's true.
I actually think First Class is probably the best one, in my opinion.
First Class.
See, I'm very conflicted about First Class. First Class was a great movie. It was, but the fact that they used 4 different generations of X-Men, and this was supposed to be like the X-Men that existed in the 60s. That was the wildest shit. I was like, what were y'all thinking?
Oh, I know. It clearly doesn't follow First Class at all, right? But like they just called it First Class because it was like that soft reboot, but then they merged them anyway with
Days of Future Past.
Yeah.
I love how Days of Future Past retcon,
everything.
Yeah, everything, and then they fucked it up again.
I know.
Yes.
Dude, Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix are like Apocalypse is at least watchable, but Dark Phoenix is terrible. I wanted to like Dark Phoenix so much. Yeah. Oh man. But yeah, X-Men the arcade game, great one. Guardians of the Galaxy is also on my list. I really was surprised at how much I really liked that game because I don't care for the movies actually. But yeah, that like you said, Star-Lord is just like a lovable goof who like very clearly you see probably a third of the way through the game he just wants to do the right thing, and even if he has to break some rules to do it, and the scenes with his mom also kind of soul crushing. The Batman Arkham games are also on here, mostly Asylum and Origins. Really love those games a lot.
It's interesting how you chose Origins. A lot of people, including Warner Brothers, likes to pretend that game didn't exist.
I know, and I'm really mad. And it's only backwards compatible on Series X if you have the disc. And the disc costs like $80 now. So
yeah, I bought that disc 2 years ago, like $4.
Yeah. I think Spider-Man, like replaying it this past week, maybe it's recency bias, I don't know, but I think that's just like it's the next level of what superhero games should be, like the way that Arkham Asylum was probably 15 years ago at this point. It's really great. I'm really excited to see what Insomniac does with Wolverine. Also, X-Men Legends on the original Xbox 1 and 2 were like, if you played Ultimate Alliance at all, like this was like the precursor to Ultimate Alliance. It's just really good. There's also a fighting game, Rise of the Imperfects, which was okay.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah. And then the game that's not on my list that totally should have been on this, it probably would have replaced Spider-Man actually, is X-Men Origins Wolverine, where like the movie was terrible and then the movie got delayed for reshoots and stuff. And so the game was supposed to come out with the movie, and they had like 8 months of polish time for that game. And the cool thing about it was like when you get injured, you don't really have a health bar, but your skeleton starts to show, and like your body parts start to show as you get damaged. And like you would regen, but the thing is like your shirt would still have like huge holes in it and destroyed and ripped. And then there's a lot of cool Wolverine costumes in that game too.
And not to mention, it was uber violent.
Oh yeah, it was super violent. Everybody was like shocked that it got an M rating, and then when you play it, like you realize, oh, there's blood everywhere.
He literally rips limbs off.
Yeah, it was cool. That game was awesome. I wish that game was backwards compatible.
I'm surprised neither of you guys mentioned Prototype.
I've never
actually played Prototype.
The poor man's Infamous, they say.
That's what it was, but it had a fun factor to it.
Yeah.
I did have a PS3.
That bundle is $14 on Xbox right now for 1 and 2. Although I heard 2 was not very good. The cool thing though is like all these old like 360 era, they're all made by Activision. So
yeah,
and now Microsoft owns them, so they could all come to Game Pass if Microsoft went to Marvel.
Well, remember before it was Activision, it was Midway
that
made all these games.
Oh man, Midway. Yeah. Man,
would they still be able to if they don't hold the rights anymore?
Well, that's what I'm saying. They would have to go to Marvel. But Hasbro, speaking of Activision games, has already stated that they would like to give Microsoft the license to bring back the Transformers games and like the G.I. Joe games.
I was just thinking when you said Hasbro, I was thinking, are you going to talk about Transformers or G.I. Joe?
Yeah, man. Fall of Cybertron was so good, man.
I heard it was a good game. But those Michael Bay movies had tainted me so much that I could not play a single Transformers game.
There's not. I mean, these.
I know now they're not related.
They play more like Gears of War, actually.
Except for the one made by Platinum.
Well, yeah, I don't care.
Fall of Cybertron was on what system?
360 and PS3.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Thanks. I have to look that one up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one. I remember that.
I would play War for Cybertron first because it's the first one, and then Fall of Cybertron.
See, now War for Cybertron, it actually there should be canon involved in that one.
There is. Well, Fall of Cybertron's a sequel.
Okay.
So War for Cybertron, Fall of Cybertron, and then they did the one Rise of the Dark Spark, which was where they merged the Cybertron series with the movie universe, and it was interesting. Not nearly as good, but interesting, I'll say. But yeah, superhero games, man. They're fun sometimes.
They've done good. We've got a few slip ups like the Avengers and maybe the future Suicide Squad.
Yeah,
if they continue to keep it as a live service.
Gotham Knights apparently is not amazing. But the thing with the Avengers though is like
we wanted Gotham Knights to be amazing though. That's the sad part.
I know, man. That story of
Gotham
that game
Knights
sounds so cool.
Gotham Knights had it was literally it was like they could have run a blank check. Like that's how much it had going for it.
I know, man. The thing about the Avengers though, just to go back to what Pat was saying, like that campaign, the single player campaign was actually very good. It just inserted the multiplayer aspects into it like you didn't want it there, but it was still part of the story, and then you had to play it, and then you had to play the multiplayer stuff to level up and get better equipment to continue the story, and that was just like the worst part. It was so bad, man.
And then what sucked is that, it's like, what was the point of all the different equipment because you never saw it on your character?
What, you mean you didn't see Hulk's purple ribs?
No.
Legendary?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to have seen Hulk's purple ribs. But no, instead we get a skin of like a slightly different shade of Hulk.
Bearded Hulk. Remember Bearded Hulk?
Yeah. I wish I knew. No, I don't wish I knew all the Hulk's names. I don't know. Well,
guys, I think we're going to wrap it up there because we've been going for almost 2 hours and we still have another show to record. So, any final thoughts on superhero games and any recommendations for people that are kind of playable on modern systems?
Remake Superman 64. Just kidding. Please don't.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I recommend Spider-Man, but you know what's a nice overlooked superhero game? Any of those Lego ones.
Yeah, the Lego ones.
Those are actually pretty damn fun.
Yeah.
Shout out to all the Capcom superhero fighter games.
Yeah, X-Men vs. Street Fighter. Yeah.
X-Men Children of the Atom, Marvel Superheroes, X-Men vs. Street Fighter, Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter, Marvel vs. Capcom. Tatsunoko versus Capcom.
Yeah.
But not 3.
Oh, man. Good times, man. Good times.
Tatsunoko versus Capcom was good because they had freaking Battle of the Planets. Who are the who's the American? What's the American name for Battle of the Planets?
I've never even heard of Battle of the Planets.
It's an anime. What was it called? Battle of the Planets. Crap.
Dragon Ball?
No. Hold on.
Avatar.
Hold on.
Dragon Ball Super.
Shut up.
Dragon Ball GT.
God.
They actually had superheroes in those.
I mean, yeah, those are also.
Anyways,
what was it? U.S. version.
Sailor Moon.
Hold on, what was it? Battle of the Planets. Hold on, what were they called? Oh, Battle of the Planets is the American. This is the American name of it. That's funny. I thought they were called something else.
I'm gonna call you something else. Anyways, I want to thank everybody for watching and listening. listening to this
Sign off
episode of the Boss Rush Podcast. So you can find it every Monday on your podcast service of choice. You can support this show and other programs by going to our Patreon. You can check the link in the show notes. And Stephanie, LeRon, Pat, thank you for your time tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank
Always
you.
a pleasure.
Good night. Well, to the fans, to our listeners,
the...
not to us.
Until next time, we love you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. If you want to be a Patreon producer, head on over to Patreon, patreon.com/BossRushMedia, and find out which tier is right for you. Our Patreon producers at the $5 tier or higher for this month are Adriel Munger, Celeste Roberts, Christian S., Sana Dirrig, Francisco Santillan, and Rebecca Jewell. Thank you for your continued support.